The very first thing you want to do when canning tomatoes is to wash your tomatoes really well because you don't want dirt going in your tomato juice. The next thing you want to do is core your tomato and then remove any bad spots that might be on the outside, any bug bites, rotted spots. You want to always do the smell test to make sure that the tomato isn't rotted because a rotted tomato can ruin the whole batch. Squeeze your tomatoes, which will release the juice, and this will also decrease your cooking time. Put your cut up tomatoes in a heavy stock pot and set the temperature to around medium heat. You want to keep the temperature fairly low because you don't want your tomatoes to stick in the bottom of your pan. You're wanting them to get to a point where the skins are falling off, they're tender, and there's a lot of juice. You will need a metal food strainer that has a stand, and you also need a wooden pestle. You will take small amounts of the cooked tomatoes and then place them in the strainer. Then in a circular motion, press the tomatoes through the strainer with your wooden pestle. You will be separating the skins and the seeds from the pulp and the juice. Fill a small saucepan with water and add your lids. You want to keep the temperature of the water hot but not boiling, so set your temperature at around medium. Keep them hot and on your burner as you can your tomato juice. I didn't show this step in the video, but you want to get your canning jars and wash them really well with detergent and hot water. I've never personally done this, but some people allow the jars to air dry and then they place them in an oven at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes. This is to ensure that they are completely sterile and free of bacteria. You will put non-iodized salt in the bottom of your canning jar. If you're canning pints, it will be a half a teaspoon and a teaspoon for quarts. If your tomatoes aren't very sweet, you can add the same amount of sugar as your salt. Put your tomato juice that you strain back into a heavy stock pot, bring it to a rolling boil, and let it boil for about 3 to 5 minutes. This ensures that it's hot enough to seal your lids and that all the bacteria will be killed. Place a funnel at the top of a canning jar that has the salt that you added along with the sugar if you've added any of that as well. Ladle in your boiling tomato juice and leave about a ½ inch headspace at the top of your jar. With a wet, clean dishcloth, you want to wipe the top of the jar. This removes any juice that might prevent a good seal. Take a lid from the hot water and place it on the top of the jar. You will then twist on a band with your fingers, but don't over tighten. You want to tighten the band just until you feel some resistance. Over tightening the bands can prevent air from venting out of your jar, which then can cause seal failure. After you've twisted your bands on, take a dishcloth and wipe your jar really well and make sure there's no tomato juice on it. Set it aside and move on to your next jar. After a long day of canning tomato juice, the one thing you want to hear is the pop of the seal. It's a beautiful sound.